This is Catalina Gutis, a young influencer and aspiring architect living in Cordoba, Argentina. But on a normal evening in July 2024, she suddenly disappeared, leaving her family, friends, and thousands of online followers worried and afraid. While the police took their time to start investigating, Catalina's parents searched for answers on their own. They followed rumors about a strange car and made a chilling discovery. But sadly, this was only the beginning of a series of terrifying events. Cordoba, a city of rich culture and academic excellence, was home to many ambitious students striving to make a mark on the world. Among them was Catalina Gutierrez, a young woman whose bright future in architecture was snatched away in an act of senseless violence. Her murder in July 2024 sent shockwaves throughout Argentina, leaving her family and friends in grief and disbelief. Catalina was more than just a student. She was a daughter, a friend, and an inspiration to many. Her vibrant presence on social media showcased her passion for architecture, travel, and life itself. Yet, behind the curated posts and smiling photos, an unspoken danger lurked. One of the people closest to her, Nestor Soto, harbored an unhealthy obsession, a fixation that would ultimately lead to an unthinkable crime. What began as a promising friendship took a dark turn, culminating in a crime that exposed the devastating consequences of unchecked obsession and gender-based violence. The tragedy of Catalina's murder not only left a void in the hearts of those who loved her, but also sparked national conversations about safety, mental health, and the hidden perils of digital exposure. This documentary unravels the details of Catalina's life, the events leading to her death, and the pursuit of justice. Welcome to the Crime Series. I am glad to have you join us on another video. Kindly subscribe, like, and share. Let me know where you are watching from. Born and raised in Cordoba, Argentina, Catalina Gutierrez was a bright and ambitious young woman who had a promising future ahead of her. From an early age, she exhibited a remarkable curiosity about the world around her. While other children played with toys, Catalina could often be found sketching intricate designs of buildings and cityscapes, her young mind already envisioning grand structures and architectural masterpieces. Her love for architecture was apparent even in childhood. She meticulously built miniature models using cardboard, glue, and whatever materials she could find around the house. Her family, particularly her father Marcelo, played a crucial role in nurturing her passion. Marcelo, an engineer himself, recognized her talent early on and encouraged her to explore architecture as a potential career path. He would take her on walks around the city, pointing out historical buildings and explaining the engineering marvels behind them. The father-daughter bond grew stronger as they discussed famous architects and architectural styles, fueling Catalina's aspirations further. Academically, Catalina excelled in school. She was known for her discipline, hard work, and relentless dedication to her studies. Her teachers frequently praised her for her sharp intellect and her ability to think critically. Whether it was mathematics, physics, or art, she approached every subject with the same level of enthusiasm and determination. Her school reports were filled with glowing remarks, and she quickly became a role model for her classmates. Her parents often described her as a perfect child and a flawless student. To them, she was not only a daughter, but a source of immense pride and joy. Her ambition and drive were evident to everyone who knew her, and she was determined to make a mark in the world of architecture. With dreams of studying at a prestigious university and eventually opening her own architectural firm, Catalina's future seemed bright and boundless. In her late teens, Catalina ventured into the world of social media, recognizing its potential to merge her love for architecture, creativity, and self-expression. With her keen eye for aesthetics and engaging personality, she quickly built a significant following on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Her content showcased a carefully curated mix of architectural insights, daily vlogs, fashion inspirations, and lifestyle tips, resonating with a diverse and ever-growing audience. Catalina's posts often featured her visits to historical sites, modern buildings, and unique urban designs, where she would break down architectural elements in a way that was both informative and visually appealing. Her ability to blend technical knowledge with an approachable, light-hearted tone made her content accessible to both architecture enthusiasts and casual viewers. She regularly shared behind-the-scenes glimpses of her academic projects, detailing her design process and the challenges of being an architecture student. Beyond architecture, her audience was drawn to her authenticity. She documented her everyday experiences, from coffee shop study sessions and university events to moments with friends and family. Her social media presence reflected a life full of ambition and joy, making her relatable to many young people who looked up to her as an inspiration. Through interactive Q&A sessions, live streams, and engaging captions, Catalina fostered a strong sense of community among her followers. Despite her rapid rise to online fame, Catalina remained grounded. She was diligent about balancing her digital presence with her rigorous studies and personal life. Friends and family described her as disciplined and goal-oriented, ensuring that social media never overshadowed her true aspirations. Unlike many influencers who let fame consume their lives, Catalina treated her online platform as an extension of her passions rather than an end goal. Her followers admired her for her work ethic, kindness, and ability to juggle multiple commitments seamlessly. With her growing influence, brands began to take notice, leading to collaborations with local companies, sponsorships, and promotional opportunities. However, she was selective in her partnerships, aligning herself with brands that resonated with her personal values and interests. She used her platform not just for aesthetic appeal, but also to inspire and educate, reinforcing the idea that social media could be used as a force for positive influence. Catalina's impact extended beyond the digital world. Her presence was felt in university classrooms, at social events, and among her peers who admired her ability to thrive in both online and offline spaces. Little did she know, however, that her visibility would also attract unwanted attention, laying the foundation for the tragic events that would later unfold. While Catalina's social media presence and academic aspirations kept her busy, her personal life was equally fulfilling. Entering university brought new connections and opportunities. Around this time, Catalina crossed paths with a man named Lazzaro Ledesma. Both studying architecture and sharing a deep Christian faith, Catalina and Lazzaro quickly found common ground. Their connection grew naturally, and before long, their bond blossomed into a loving relationship. Their bond was built on mutual respect and ambition, making them a well-known and admired couple among their peers. Lazzaro, described by friends as supportive and kind-hearted, was deeply in love with Catalina. They spent hours together working on projects, studying, and exploring the city's architectural wonders. Their relationship was often featured on Catalina's social media, where followers admired their shared dreams and affectionate moments. Despite her rising fame, Catalina remained grounded, always making time for Lazzaro and prioritizing their connection. However, at this time, Catalina will cross paths with another friend by name Nestor Aguilar Soto. While Catalina saw him as just another friend, those who observed Nestor closely noticed that he appeared to be more attached to her than to anyone else in their group. He made a conscious effort to be around her, sometimes offering to help with assignments or accompany her on errands. However, his demeanor remained controlled, and there were no obvious signs of obsession or possessiveness at this stage. His classmates described him as intelligent but somewhat emotionally distant. Unlike Catalina, who was active on social media and had a large following, Nestor had a low-key online presence, rarely posting or engaging publicly. Despite this, he followed Catalina's posts closely, liking and commenting on her pictures regularly. While Nestor's academic life was progressing well, there were subtle indications that his attachment to Catalina was deepening in ways that others did not immediately recognize. For Nestor Aguilar Soto, Catalina's boyfriend was an unspoken obstacle. Though he never voiced his emotions, it was clear that Santiago's presence in Catalina's life made it impossible for Nestor's silent hopes to ever turn into reality. Unlike Nestor, who only shared classes and academic struggles with Catalina, Santiago had a different kind of connection with her, one that was romantic, intimate, and exclusive. While Catalina spoke of Nestor as a friend, she spoke of Santiago as her partner, her confidant, and the person she planned her future with. To Santiago, Nestor was just one of Catalina's many friends. He had no reason to see him as a threat. He was secure in his relationship and trusted Catalina completely. But for Nestor, the reality of seeing the woman he loved with someone else was a silent torment, one that he never expressed but grew stronger each day. If you found this story compelling and appreciate the way we bring real-life cases to you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue to uncover the truth and share these important stories. Like, share, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. July 18, 2024, started as any other normal day for Catalina Gutierrez. The 21-year-old architecture student from Córdoba, Argentina, had spent most of her day attending classes and working on her university projects. Being a highly social person, she always looked forward to spending quality time with her close circle of friends. That evening was no exception. Catalina had plans for a fun outing at Patio Olmos, a popular shopping center in the heart of the city. Patio Olmos was a well-known spot for young people in Córdoba, offering entertainment, shopping, and dining. That night, the group planned to go bowling, a casual and enjoyable activity they had done many times before. It was a simple, routine gathering, nothing out of the ordinary. Catalina had borrowed her mother's Renault Clio to drive to the venue. Since she lived with her family, borrowing the car was common when she had plans that required transportation. With everything set, Catalina got ready and sent a text message to her boyfriend at 7:58 p.m., saying, "My love, I'm on my way." However, Catalina never made it to the bowling alley. As the minutes passed and Catalina failed to arrive, her friends initially didn't panic. She was usually punctual, but minor delays were normal. They assumed she might have run into traffic, stopped for fuel, or was simply taking longer than expected to find parking. However, when nearly an hour passed with no texts, calls, or updates, they started growing uneasy. Multiple attempts to contact her were met with silence. Calls went straight to voicemail, and messages on WhatsApp and Instagram remained unread. Her friends began reaching out to each other, asking if anyone had seen or heard from her. But no one had. As more time passed, the concern escalated. This was not normal for Catalina. She was always attentive to messages and would never leave her friends waiting without an explanation. A sense of dread started creeping in. By 9 p.m., her family was notified that Catalina was missing. Her mother immediately tried calling her, dialing again and again, only to be met with the same voicemail response. "The person you are trying to reach is not available." Her father, who had been at home watching television, sensed something was wrong as soon as his wife told him Catalina hadn't arrived where she was supposed to. Catalina's mother, Silvia Gutierrez, knew her daughter well. She had raised her to be responsible and cautious. She knew Catalina wouldn't just ignore her phone or disappear without a word. A deep feeling of unease settled in. Something was off. By 10 p.m., Silvia and her husband decided to go to the police station in Córdoba to report their daughter missing. As is often the case when young adults go missing, the police initially downplayed their concerns. Officers suggested that Catalina might have simply gone out with friends or had decided to stay somewhere else for the night. But Catalina's parents were adamant. This was not normal behavior for their daughter. She was not the kind of person who would disappear without a word. Frustrated by the lack of urgency, the family decided to take matters into their own hands. They remembered that Catalina's iPhone was linked to the Find My iPhone feature. Using another device, they checked its location. To their relief, the phone was still active, meaning it had not been turned off. However, what they saw next sent chills down their spines. The phone's GPS showed that Catalina's last known location was in a remote area on the outskirts of Córdoba, Barrio Los Gigantes. This was not a place she would normally visit. There were no shopping malls, restaurants, or friends living there. It made no sense for her to be in that location at that hour. Catalina's parents, accompanied by her uncle and a few family friends, rushed to the location displayed on the phone. Upon reaching Barrio Los Gigantes, they found themselves in a desolate area. It was a semi-abandoned industrial zone with few houses, overgrown vegetation, and scattered warehouses. The silence was deafening. Parked at the edge of an empty lot, partially obscured by bushes, was Catalina's Renault Clio. What they discovered was a scene of devastation. The Renault Clio was there, but it had been severely burned. The metal frame was warped from the heat, and the windows had been shattered. As they approached, the sickening smell of burnt upholstery and something more sinister filled the air. Catalina was nowhere to be seen, until they looked inside. Inside the backseat of the vehicle lay the charred remains of a body. At first, the family held on to a shred of hope that it wasn't her, that it could be someone else. But deep down, they knew the horrifying truth. The authorities arrived quickly, sealing off the area and confirming the worst. Catalina was dead. The autopsy later revealed that she had suffered severe blunt force trauma and asphyxiation, indicating an attempt to cover up the crime. The discovery sent shockwaves through her family, friends, and the entire Córdoba community. How could someone so full of life and promise meet such a tragic and violent end? The question on everyone's mind was, who could have done this, and why? In the hours following the discovery, police began piecing together Catalina's last known whereabouts, initiating a full-scale homicide investigation. The authorities quickly identified several key suspects, including her boyfriend, Lázaro. However, surveillance cameras and eyewitnesses ruled him out early. Investigators began reconstructing Catalina's final hours. Through phone records and witness statements, they learned that she had left her home in Córdoba around 7 p.m. on July 18, 2024, to meet her friends for a bowling night at Patio Olmos. Before leaving, she exchanged messages with her boyfriend, the last one reading, "My love, I'm on my way." However, Catalina never arrived. Instead, she picked up Nestor Aguilar Soto, a classmate and longtime friend, around 7:30 p.m. Surveillance footage showed Catalina's car parked near a quiet street, with Nestor seen entering the vehicle. This was the last known sighting of her alive. When Catalina's disappearance was reported later that night, Nestor appeared concerned. He actively participated in the search, messaging her friends and even speaking to her family about possible locations where she might have gone. His behavior initially aligned with that of a worried friend, but inconsistencies in his statements quickly raised suspicion. During police interviews, Nestor claimed that Catalina had dropped him off at his apartment after a brief conversation and then left alone. However, security footage contradicted his account. Additionally, forensic analysis of his clothing showed traces of blood that would later be identified as Catalina's. As investigators pressed him for more details, Nestor's demeanor shifted. He became visibly anxious, frequently changing minor details in his version of events. Detectives noticed his reluctance to discuss what happened after he got into the car with Catalina. Realizing that his lies were unraveling, Nestor broke down and made a chilling confession. "I killed her. She was the love of my life." Investigators were stunned. Until that moment, there had been no prior records of aggression or violence linked to Nestor. He had no criminal history and had never shown outward signs of dangerous behavior. His quiet and introverted nature had masked an obsession that ultimately turned lethal. His admission led to immediate formal charges of aggravated homicide. The case rapidly gained media attention, shocking the public. Catalina's family, devastated by the revelation, struggled to comprehend how someone she considered a friend had betrayed her in such a horrific way. With a confession on record, prosecutors shifted their focus to understanding why Nestor had committed the crime and whether his actions were premeditated. When investigators delved into the relationship between Catalina Gutierrez and Nestor Aguilar Soto, they uncovered a troubling pattern. While outwardly, their friendship appeared ordinary, two architecture students working on projects, socializing in groups, and exchanging casual messages, those close to them noticed signs of an unspoken and unhealthy fixation on Catalina from Nestor's side. He was always eager to offer help, whether it was driving her places, assisting with assignments, or ensuring he was present wherever she went. His feelings, however, were not reciprocated. Catalina, known for her friendly and outgoing nature, had several male friends and a committed relationship with her boyfriend. She enjoyed social interactions without reading too much into them. Nestor, on the other hand, interpreted her kindness differently. Some of Catalina's friends sensed that Nestor's admiration bordered on obsession, but nobody imagined it would escalate to violence. There were no documented threats or aggressive confrontations, just an underlying tension whenever Catalina interacted with other men. The night Catalina went missing, something inside Nestor snapped. Investigators believe that he had been silently battling feelings of rejection for months, and on July 18, 2024, his emotions reached a breaking point. Investigators suggest that Catalina could have made a comment, possibly about her boyfriend, that triggered Nestor's built-up frustration. In that moment, the reality that she would never return his feelings became unbearable for him. This led to the tragic and irreversible decision to end her life. Nestor's confession, where he stated, "I killed her. She was the love of my life," was the final confirmation of the dangerous obsession he had harbored for so long. This confession was really shocking for the family because it hit home. They least expected it from someone they trusted. Nestor appeared innocent. In fact, while Catalina was said to be missing, Nestor helped in the search. He joined Catalina's boyfriend, Lazaro, in searching for her. Then, he accompanied the family to the police station. When Catalina's body was found, he comforted her grieving family, hugged and even cried with them, all while knowing he was the one who had killed her. His actions were indeed a cold attempt to deflect suspicion and maintain the facade of a concerned friend. Systems swiftly moved to formalize charges against him. Given the nature of the crime, he was charged with aggravated homicide, a classification applied in cases involving premeditation, brutality, or a significant power imbalance between the victim and the perpetrator. In Argentina, this charge carries a severe penalty with a potential sentence of life imprisonment. Prosecutors argued that Nestor's actions were not impulsive, but rather driven by an obsessive attachment to Catalina. Evidence presented suggested a pattern of unreciprocated affection, possessiveness, and jealousy, which ultimately led to a fatal confrontation. Testimonies from Catalina's friends revealed that she had not perceived Nestor as a threat, but had noticed his increasingly erratic behavior. Authorities also considered gender-based violence, femicide, as a key factor in the case. Argentina's legal system recognizes femicide as the murder of a woman due to her gender, often by someone close to her. This classification can result in harsher sentencing. The prosecution contended that Nestor's crime fit this description, as it stemmed from a toxic sense of ownership and entitlement over Catalina. Catalina's murder became a national talking point, dominating news headlines and social media discussions. Prominent news outlets and advocacy groups called attention to the alarming rise in femicides across Argentina, demanding more robust preventive measures. Catalina's case was not an isolated incident. It became part of a larger discourse on women's safety, toxic masculinity, and the dangers of obsessive behavior disguised as affection. The much-anticipated trial of Nestor Aguilar Soto, the accused in the murder of Catalina Gutierrez, was initially scheduled to begin on February 27, 2025. The case had already garnered widespread public and media attention, as many were eager to see justice served. However, just days before the trial was set to commence, a significant development occurred, one that left Catalina's family and supporters frustrated and suspicious. Nestor's defense team filed a formal request for a psychiatric evaluation, arguing that their client needed to be assessed for mental instability before standing trial. They claimed that he displayed erratic behavior and emotional distress, warranting medical attention rather than immediate legal proceedings. As a result of this motion, Nestor was transferred to a psychiatric hospital, and the court suspended the trial indefinitely. This legal maneuver was not uncommon in high-profile murder cases. If a defendant is deemed mentally unfit to stand trial, The legal process can be significantly delayed or even altered to accommodate the individual's psychiatric condition. However, such claims are often scrutinized, as they can be used strategically to stall proceedings, gain sympathy, or weaken the prosecution's case. The postponement of the trial was met with immediate backlash from Catalina's family, particularly her sister, Lucia, who took to social media to express her frustration. The family viewed Nestor's sudden psychiatric concerns as a deliberate attempt to manipulate the legal system and avoid public scrutiny. In a public statement, Carlos Hirabidian, the lawyer representing Catalina's family, criticized the delay, questioning whether Nestor's hospitalization was a genuine medical necessity or a calculated defense strategy. He pointed out that in the months following his arrest, Nestor had shown no significant signs of psychiatric distress until the trial date approached. The decision to suspend the trial sparked public outrage, especially among women's rights activists in Argentina, who saw it as yet another example of the justice system failing victims of gender-based violence. Protests were held in Córdoba, with demonstrators carrying signs that read "Justicia para Catalina," justice for Catalina, and demanding that the trial proceed without further delays. Despite the setback, Catalina's family and legal representatives remain determined to push for a swift trial and ensure that Nestor faces full accountability for his actions. As of now, the trial remains in limbo, awaiting the results of the psychiatric evaluation. Whether this delay is justified or merely a stalling tactic will be revealed in the coming months.